Are restaurants manipulating the prep time on their orders so the delivery drivers show up early to pick up those orders? Today, we're going to look at all of the facts, and we're also going to look at 2 ways that you can mitigate the risks of restaurants potentially doing this. What's going on, everybody? Jonathan here with Gig Nation, the original gig economy channel. Let's dive right into this. We're going to look at a presentation from Uber, just one of those slides to see what their policy is on restaurants updating that order time. Then we're gonna also look at what you can do if you think that this is happening to you, the best strategies to implement so that you're not spending a ton of time waiting around at restaurants. We've all been there before. We show up at a restaurant, Uber tells us that the ETA is 5 minutes. We think that right when we get there, we'll wait maybe 1-2 minutes, that food's gonna be ready to go, we can grab it and then continue on our way to that customer so that that food is there hot, the customer's happy, and we can get paid and move on to that next order. But as we know, as delivery drivers, it does not always happen like this. Sometimes we show up and the hostess at that restaurant lets us know it's going to be 10-15 minutes until that order's ready, or they say it's almost ready. They continue to let us know it's almost ready, but time continues to tick away and all of a sudden we're sitting there 10 to 15 minutes. So what's going on here? Is that hostess, is the chef, are people working at that restaurant updating the prep time so that we show up early? Are they manipulating that, intentionally telling us it's going to be ready in 5 minutes when they know it's going to take 10, 15, 20 minutes? What we're looking at here is a little bit of distrust between delivery drivers and the restaurants that they're helping deliver for. And if this is happening, then that distrust goes both ways, right? Because in a perfect system, Uber would be able to estimate things. They would know the estimated time it takes for a delivery driver to get to a restaurant and about how much time it takes for that food to get ready. And it could be a pretty seamless situation where food's always ready for the delivery driver when they get there to pick it up. But if you're a restaurant and you've been burned by delivery drivers showing up 20, 30, 45 minutes late or not showing up at all to pick up your orders, maybe you want to estimate those orders to arrive sooner so that that delivery driver who thinks that they might have a 20-30 minute cushion and they're sitting back all of a sudden has to get there quicker. And that way they're ready to pick it up and get on their way as soon as your order is ready. From your perspective, this is beneficial to you because that food's not sitting out waiting for the delivery driver. The delivery driver is ready for you. On the driver's end, however, you don't want to be getting to restaurants early and waiting around. So maybe you suspect that an order is going to take longer than you think it might, and you just, continue on with your day. Maybe you're at your apartment, you have UberEats on, and you're waiting for that order to come in, and it looks like, this Chinese restaurant could take 20 minutes, so you're not going to leave right away, right? Like, you don't want to wait inside the restaurant. You want to take your time doing this. And that's where we get this distrust between the restaurants and the drivers. So let's break that down and see if there's really a reason to be distrustful and what we should be doing, how to approach this the right way. So let's first pull up the presentation. It's materials that Uber gives merchants when they're onboarding them. And we're gonna look at a slide here that talks about prep time. The title is telling us that Uber's encouraging restaurants to update their prep time. Not only do they want restaurants to manually do this as soon as they get an order, but they want them to continue to adjust this anytime a snag comes up or anything happens so that they can, adjust the algorithm and get drivers on track to show up at the right time as well. Uber also states that they have their proprietary algorithm that's essentially using a ton of data to estimate when that order is going to be ready. So if the restaurant does not change their prep time, does not update it, Uber is going to take care of that and they're going to send the estimate out for what they think it's going to be. So here's where the gray area lies. Let's assume that restaurants aren't always updating that prep time, that they're busy, right? They're dealing with customers coming into the restaurant, they're seating those customers, they're managing stuff on the back end with getting orders ready, and so they don't have someone dedicated over here just to updating prep times. Maybe a lot of those restaurants are just letting the algorithm do the work. And Uber has a sophisticated algorithm, right? It's a huge tech company. They pay people a lot of money. They should be able to guess this, right? If you have any experience in the restaurant industry, you know that this is not always possible. A lot of stuff can come up with restaurants And unless you are a very well organized, very well managed, and very well staffed restaurant, it's very hard to be consistent when you're running out of ingredients, people aren't showing up for work, you have a busy rush time that you weren't expecting. All of these factors combined could make it really hard for Uber to update those prep times and give us good estimates. So there is the very likely possibility that this isn't restaurants actually manipulating prep times. A lot of this is just the algorithm being slightly inefficient. So how exactly should we be approaching this and mitigating the risk of waiting around? Well, the methods that I'm going to let you guys know about are going to apply whether or not you think that this is the restaurant's fault, or you think that it's Uber Eats algorithm, occasionally having that hiccup and giving you the wrong prep time. Personally, I think it's best to always enter a relationship with a restaurant, giving them a little bit of trust, assuming that they're going to be on time, that the prep time is going to be correct, and then learning from that. So the first way that we can learn from it is to make a list, right? Every time we show up to a restaurant and the prep time exceeds what we expect, we can mark that down. And every time things go in the opposite direction and that restaurant beats or exceeds our expectations, they're on time and ready to go, we want to mark that down as well. And we want to filter out the low performing restaurants that aren't going to be worth our time. Because remember, it's not just delivery distance, it's not just the amount paid, it's the amount of our time that goes in to picking up and delivering these orders. And by actively maintaining this list, we are taking back that power to really control how much time we spend waiting. One of the things that I firmly believe is that a well-managed, well-maintained, well-staffed restaurant is going to be able to efficiently and effectively deliver orders on time, have those ready for drivers when drivers get there. And I've definitely experienced restaurants like this. You show up, they have snacks or something waiting for you if by the off chance you do have to wait around, and you can see them moving. You can see the parts flowing within that restaurant, people working at a high level, and you're rewarded by picking up orders that are often ready to go about the time that you get there, and things are moving efficiently for you. These are the type of the restaurants that we want to mark down and continue to visit. But there's one other big thing that we definitely need to be doing, and I don't think enough drivers do this. Let's first visit the FAQ page for Uber drivers. And we can see here that Uber has a cancellation policy built in for drivers. They let you know that in 10 to 15 minutes after arriving, you should be canceling that order if it's not ready. So here's what we need to be doing as delivery drivers. We need to communicate that with the restaurants, with the managers, with the hostess, with whatever contact we reach when we walk in that door. We don't need to be doing this as soon as we walk in, but once we get to 5, 7, 10 minutes out, what we should be doing is pulling up our phone, going to that FAQ section and pulling up the page that says it's Uber's policy to cancel 10 to 15 minutes if the restaurant is not ready. It doesn't mean we have to cancel, that's your decision as a delivery driver, but it should be communicated to restaurants that this is Uber's policy, so that if on the off chance they are manipulating that prep time, they know what their window is. They know not to keep drivers waiting more than 10 minutes. And so if that is the case, if there were some widespread manipulation by restaurants of that prep time, if more drivers communicated this to restaurants when they were taking too long, restaurants would start to get the idea, right, that they don't want these cancellations because then another driver has to come in and that driver could be late by the time that meal is ready. So the more that we communicate, the more efficient the system becomes as a whole for drivers. And the only way that we can do this is by really getting everyone to buy in and do it. So make sure you hit that like button and share this video with other drivers out there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check back in the future. There's going to be plenty of Uber Eats videos and other gig economy videos coming your way.